Allie. Join me as I show you how to make these sword and stone earrings. Really simple, quick design that you can use a lot of different materials for. If you want to see the materials that I used, go ahead and look below the video in the description, and we'll put links there to get back to our website. Gather up those materials and let's get started. So these sword and stone earrings are really simple. We're going to start out with a right angle weave and then do some netting. To begin, I'm going to pick up 4 of my 6mm pearls with one 11/0 seed bead between each. You'll notice I'm holding the end of my size 8 dragon thread, and I have a size 10 needle on my thread. I have about 4 feet of thread, which is going to be more than enough for what you need. Make sure when you finish an end that you are ending, if you started with a pearl, you are ending with a seed bead. Once you have those 4 on, we're going to tie them into a square. Right over left, left over right, that gets them tied. I ended with the 11/0, so I'm going to sew through the pearl and bring my needle and thread out after that. Give a nice tight pull, and that's my first little unit. We're going to decorate the exterior by using an 11/0, one of our crystal rondelles, an 11/0, and then we're going to skip over the 11 that's there, and we're going to sew through the next pearl. Repeating this on every corner. Now you'll notice it sits a little bit funky. That's okay, we're still coming back through and connecting to the rondelle, but adding those 3 beads between each one of my pearls. And you can see how I'm kind of pushing that down, pulling that up. Going in here, on to the next one. And so forth. I love how simple and quick this earring is to make, and you can see the progress right away. Once you're adding the last one here, you're going to go through the pearl, as well as I want you to come up into the first 11/0 and then out through the rondelle. This is the first portion of the earring. You can see it's already really pretty. What we're going to do now is go through and wrap our seed beads around the exterior edge and connect all our lines. Going around here, we're coming out our rondelles, and I want you to put 5 of your 11/0s onto your needle. Go through your rondelle. My thread was originally coming out the top. I added my 5 beads. I sewed into the bottom, and my thread's back out through the top here. And I'm going to add 6 more seed beads. Once those 6 seed beads are on, I'm going to sew into the next rondelle in the corner. And then once again, add 5 more seed beads to the top. Coming out the top of that rondelle, sew into the bottom, which is going to take those 5 seed beads and wrap them around the exterior of the rondelle. 6 seed beads go on, and you are going to follow this pattern 2 more times as you go through and connect the other corners. As you add in your last 6 beads, you're going to add your 6 beads to connect to the next rondelle, which was the one that you started on, and then sew through and pull those beads. And you can see how pretty this set is just right away. We're going to enhance it a little more. Coming through that rondelle, I want you to go through beads 1, 2, and 3 of those 11/0s that sit wrapping around the rondelle. Once you're down through there, add 1 and 2 11/0s, your mirrored crystal there, and after that disco ball, another rondelle, and 1, 2, 3 more 11/0s. I like this project because it uses all one size of seed bead. Could you use more? Certainly. If you wanted a little bit smaller of a bottom, you could do that as well, but this keeps the materials really simple. After adding those last 3 seed beads, come up through the rondelle and up through that 6mm crystal. Give a nice tight pull so you don't see any extra thread, and add 2 more seed beads. Remember that 11/0 that your thread is currently coming out of because you went through 3. I want you to go back through that. So like we've been circling around the rondelles, the thread was coming out of that bead number 3. We added the fringe hanging down, and we're circling back up through that rondelle. What that does is allows the drop to hang nice and in the center of the bottom of the piece there. You can see that it's hanging in the center bottom of the piece, And now what we're going to do is connect to the sides, coming down from that center, and make it look like that little sword edge coming down and going through those 3 bottom pieces. Once you're coming out of that seed bead, you are going to add 10 seed beads to your thread and needle, and then you're going to sew down through the 3 seed beads at the picot trim bottom of the piece. Once you're out through that 3rd bead, you're going to add 10 more seed beads and sew back up to the top. This gives a little bit of a bezel look. You can certainly hang something else down from the bottom and not include the rondelle, include the rondelle, keep out the 6mm, lots of options. Here at the top then, you're going to sew back through that same 11-0 seed bead that the thread was coming out of. You can see that just wraps that bottom here, and we're going to push those beads a little bit to the back so that way your crystals stay to the front. We're going to then come up through the side of the piece, going through the 11-0s on the opposite side of that 3rd one, going through the rondelle, and then we come out the rondelle. I want you to go through the 6 beads along the side, and we are going to work our way up through the 6 beads, through the rondelle, making sure not to get your thread caught through those. And we're making our way up then to the top. So I'm going to flip it over here. We're going through, after the rondelles, through the 6 beads along the side again, on that corner there. And again, working our way up towards the top, through the rondelle. And then just like we did on the opposite side, when we went through and came out through bead number 5, we are going to actually skip that middle bead, bead number 3. I'm going to go through beads number 1 and 2 at the top rondelle, the rondelle that's sitting opposite your little sword there. And then we're going to get ready to put on our wire guard or our wire protector. At that top, coming out through that 2nd bead, you're going to grab a wire guard, wire protector. If you don't have any, you can simply attach it to a closed ring, or use a 6/0 seed bead at the top and attach your ear wire to that, or just continue up a loop of seed beads about 8 high, and that will attach to your ear wire as well. The wire guard, you're going to go up through the one side of it, come down through the other side, making sure your thread stays in that U channel, and then pop down through the 2 beads after it. That's just going to sit right in the middle there, that 11-0. Reinforce, going back through the rondelle, up through the 2 seed beads, up through the wire guard, and then down through the other side. It's always a good idea whenever you are using wire guards or putting on a clasp that you take more than one thread pass through the piece. After coming out through the rondelle, we're going to go down the side, reinforcing that set of 6, going through the next rondelle, going through the next set of 6, going through the next rondelle, and then once I'm through the next rondelle, I'm going to bring my thread and needle towards the interior by going through the rondelle and then bringing my thread and needle in towards the center by going through the 11-0 that sits after the rondelle and sewing back through that middle section of the purl, 11 purl, until I get to the thread start, which is going to be right along the back, and then we're going to tie those 2 thread ends together and burn them down towards the project. Once you burn down the thread ends along the back, all you need to do is open up your ear wires by holding them and opening them up to the side, sliding on the ear wire, making sure that the front is towards the front. Remember, the seed beads are going to sit a little bit recessed back there, and the pearls are going to sit a little bit to the front. Close it up, and then your sword and stone earrings are finished. I'm going to go in here, do the same thing. open it up, slide my wire guard on, and close it up. Finished. Simple, easy project. If you want to, you can even connect these, make them into a beautiful necklace, or you could even connect it with some chain, have these hanging down and make it a real statement. I love components like this because you can really make them into what you want them to be, and that right angle weave start is a great way to do it. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these sword and stone earrings. They're really fun because there are so many different ways you can make these look just based on smaller seed beads, bigger seed beads, 8mm versus 6mm. So make sure to post your designs in our beading group for beading and jewelry making on Facebook. As always, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.